Mrs. Koffi's classroom was usually a place of organized learning, but today was different. The vibrant primary school in Accra, Ghana, was buzzing with excitement. Mrs. Koffi herself, dressed in a colorful African print dress, greeted her students with a warm smile. Her eyes sparkled with the promise of a fun-filled day. Koffi, a 10-year-old with a bright smile and messy hair, bounced into the room carrying a cage with his pet chicken, Akua. Amma, a shy and clever 9-year-old with big glasses and neat braids, and Kwame, a confident 11-year-old in a soccer jersey, watched curiously.
All right, class. Today we are learning about African animals. Koffi, why don't you introduce us to your little friend?
Mrs. Koffi began. But before Koffi could say anything, Akua escaped from the cage and began flapping around the classroom.
Akua, come back!
Koffi shouted, darting after the chicken. Chaos ensued as students laughed and tried to help capture the runaway chicken. Amidst the laughter, Mrs. Koffi clapped her hands to get the class's attention.
Okay, class. Who can tell me about African animals while Koffi retrieves Akua?
Amma raised her hand.
I know! Giraffes are the tallest mammals.
Kwame chimed in.
And lions are the kings of the savannah.
Mrs. Koffi nodded approvingly, happy to see her students' enthusiasm. Once Akua was safely back in her cage, she decided to incorporate the chicken into the lesson.
If Akua lays 5 eggs per day, how many eggs in 3 days?
She asked. Koffi's hand shot up.
15.
That's right. Math is all around us.
The class continued with a series of engaging lessons. In a session about African culture, Amma shared.
My grandma wears traditional kid cloth.
Kwame added.
My dad wears agbada on special occasions.
Mrs. Koffi smiled.
Our culture is rich and diverse. We should be proud of it.
The day wasn't over yet. There was a science experiment to conduct.
What happens when you mix baking soda and vinegar?
Mrs. Koffi asked. The students gathered around the experiment table. Koffi's eyes widened.
Wow, it's fizzing.
Amma excitedly explained.
It's a chemical reaction.
By the end of the day, Mrs. Koffi's class had learned that education is fun and intertwined with everyday life. They left the classroom with new knowledge and fond memories. As they packed their bags, Mrs. Koffi reminded them.
Remember, embrace your curiosity and creativity in learning.
The moral of the day's adventures was clear. Learning could be exciting, engaging, and all around us. Mrs. Koffi's crazy classroom had turned an ordinary day into an extraordinary learning experience. The class buzzed with ideas for drawing their favorite African animals, creating traditional crafts, and writing stories about African heroes. Everyone agreed it was the best day ever.